Hi, I'm Daniel Gold, and welcome to the Gold Standard Leadership Lab. By day, I'm a partner at a leading advisory firm where I draw upon my background as an attorney to help my clients succeed. This podcast, though, is my personal project, completely separate and apart from my day job, but reflects the same passion that I exhibit everywhere for teaching, mentoring, and helping others succeed through simple, impactful lessons. It is my hope that you'll walk away with practical takeaways to help you on your leadership journey. Thanks for being a part of this community and for joining me in the Leadership Lab. Let's get started. I want to start today with a question, and I want you to sit with that question for a little bit before you answer. And the question is this: when was the last time your numbers were really good and someone above you pushed back on how you were leading? Take a moment. Think about it. Because if you're like most leaders that I know and have known throughout my professional career, the honest answer is never. Why? Because when the numbers are good, nobody looks underneath them. The quarterly review is a celebration. The one-on-ones are shorter. The emails from leadership, well, they're much warmer. Everyone is happy and you get left alone to keep doing whatever it is that you've been doing. And that right there is probably the most dangerous place that a leader can be. Now, we've talked many times on the Gold Standard Leadership Lab before about active listening. And I want to be clear about something before we go any further today, because I know some of you have been with me since the very early episodes. Active listening is real. It matters. The ability to be fully present, to hear beyond the words, to understand the emotions and the context underneath what someone is actually saying, that is a genuine leadership skill. I believe that. I've built episodes around it, and I stand by every word. But here's what I haven't said yet. Active listening is an input skill. And inputs without outputs is just performance. You can be the most engaged, present, empathetic listener in your entire organization. You can nod. You can take notes. You can repeat back what you heard with genuine warmth and make every person on your team feel completely seen in the moment. And if you walk out of that conversation and do absolutely nothing with what you just heard, well, I have some news for you. You have not led anyone. You have performed leadership, and there's a meaningful difference between the two. The gap, the space between what a leader hears and what a leader actually execute on, is what I'm calling the execution gap. It is called the execution gap. And I want to make the case today, I'm going to make the argument for you and provide plenty of evidence that it is one of the most widespread, most costly, and most invisible failures in organizational leadership. Invisible specifically because of one thing: the numbers. I want to tell you about a leader that I know that I have worked for. For today, I'm just going to call him John. And I want to be clear up front. I respect this person, genuinely respect this person. What he has and what he has been really, really great at is being able to make everybody feel like they are part of a team. It's extraordinary, actually. And not in a manufactured way. It truly feels authentic, not with forced fun or mandatory team building exercise. He just has this quality where you felt when you were around him that everyone in the room mattered and that you were all rowing in the same direction. And I have to tell you something, that is actually a rare talent. And that is actually a form of leadership that most people really never developed. And the numbers reflected it. Our numbers were strong, consistently strong. And when the numbers are consistently strong, a particular thing happens inside of an organization. Everyone I've belonged to, leadership above you stops looking closely. They stop asking the hard questions. They leave you alone because why would you mess with something that is working so well? And here's what was also true at the same time. Operational gaps were in fact accumulating, and technology that needed updating wasn't getting updated, and process failures that team members had flagged in conversations, real feedback was being heard, nodded out, appreciated, and then nothing. And look, it wasn't out of malice, and it wasn't out of indifference, but because when everything looks fine on the scoreboard, there is very little urgency to fix what is underneath it. Nobody is complaining loudly. Numbers are good. Look, let's just not jinx it. But then, a reorganization happened. John was moved out of his leadership seat, and what became apparent almost immediately was that the team cohesion that had felt so organic, so genuinely built, had been doing a second job nobody realized. It was covering the operational gaps. And when the cohesion went, so did the cover. And everything that had been accumulating underneath was suddenly visible. Now, I'm not telling this story to diminish John. I'm telling it because I've watched this exact pattern play out more than once in multiple places that I've worked at throughout my career. The details will change, the industry changes, the leader changes, but this pattern, no, this pattern does not change. Strong numbers are the most effective camouflage an organization has literally ever invented. And most of us don't realize we're hiding behind them until the camouflage disappears. And so the numbers turn. And maybe it's the market. Maybe it's a client loss. Maybe it's just a run of really bad timing, the kind of thing that has nothing at all to do with the leader's competency or effort. It doesn't matter. The moment the numbers go south, something happens above the leader that is predictable as the sun rising in the morning. The metrics come out. I experienced this firsthand in 2005. I had made the transition from practicing law and what I thought would be the business side of the legal world. And I had a brief stint at a legal recruiting firm, and I had a manager there whose entire leadership philosophy, as best as I could tell, could be summarized in 3 sentences. Believe in the numbers. If you're not making me money, I'm not talking to you. And if it's not in the CRM, it never happened. And that was literally it. That was his playbook. And when things were going well, those sentences were background noise. But the moment a week went sideways, out came the tracking. How many calls did you make? How many presentations did you have? How many meetings did you schedule? And how many opportunities are on the board? And look, I don't blame him. It's what he was taught to do. I still think about this manager. A former colleague and I still occasionally talk about it. And yet, 21 years later, I can still tell you with complete confidence that this approach has not gone anywhere. I've seen versions of it at law firms, technology companies, professional services organizations, in literally every sector I've worked in or consulted for. When the numbers go bad, we default to treating humans as an assembly line. How many tickets did you open? How many did you close? What is your efficiency rate? We end up treating human beings like robots. And then we're surprised when morale goes further south. And when morale goes further south, we lose people. And when we start losing people, the numbers get worse. And when the numbers get worse, the surveillance, well, it tightens. And the cycle continues until there is nothing left to lose. And here's the question I keep coming back to. When a server goes offline, a computer server, when software fails, when a system breaks down, we do not respond by counting how many times the server was turned on and off. No, we do what is called a root cause analysis. We trace the failure back to its origin. We ask what actually went wrong, not how many times the things happened. We treat the problem as something worth understanding before we try to fix it. So why don't we do that with people? Truly, why do we not do that with our team members? Why? When a team's performance dips, do we not ask the same question we would ask about any other system that we care about, like the server? What is the root cause? What was already present before the numbers turned that we simply weren't paying attention to because, well, we didn't have to? And the answer most of the time is sitting in a conversation that already happened. Something a team member said 6 months ago that never got heard. It may have gotten acknowledged, but it never got acted on. Something that went into the execution gap, and it stayed there. I want to talk about a different kind of leader for a minute, because they exist, and I have met them. I've tried to be one with varying degrees of success depending upon the season I was in. This is the leader who, when the numbers turn, does not reach for the activity report. This is the leader who goes another level deeper, who asks the line manager to actually sit with the individual contributor, not to audit them, but to understand them. Is there something personal going on that we can create some flexibility around? Is there a technical gap we haven't identified that we have the ability to close? Is there a skill that needs development that has somehow been masked by team performance or good fortune? Is the sales rep uncomfortable with a part of the pitch that we haven't looked at in 2 years? Is the associate attorney not getting to the right questions with prospective clients because nobody has coached that young attorney on how to handle objections in a legal technology conversation? These are not soft questions. They are diagnostic questions. And the leader who asks them is doing exactly what a good engineer does when a system fails. They are tracing the problem back to its origin before they start applying fixes. This kind of leader makes a lot of organizations uncomfortable, by the way. Why? Because this approach requires patience. It requires sitting with uncertainty for a little longer than the dashboard allows. And it requires the belief that human beings on your team are worth the same kind of rigorous, careful analysis we would give to our technology and our financial models. I've been in rooms where that belief was not shared, where the message, spoken or unspoken, was the numbers tell us what we need to know, and everything else is noise. I understand, though, why organizations end up there. The metrics are clean. The metrics are comparable. The metrics don't require you to sit in an uncomfortable conversation with a person who is struggling and to listen and to act upon it. But the metrics also do not tell you why. And why is the only question that actually fixes anything. Here's what I want you to take away from today. Active listening does matter. We've talked about it many times, so please keep doing it. Please keep developing that skill, and please keep teaching it to the people around you. But do not confuse listening with leading. Listening is the output. And friends, execution, that is the output. And the gap between them is where trust either grows or dies. When your numbers are good, that is exactly the moment to look underneath them. Not because something is wrong and you're going to jinx it, but because that is when you have the clarity and the space to see clearly. That is when the hard conversations are still manageable. That is when the operational gaps are still fixable. Please do not wait for the camouflage to disappear before you start asking the real questions. And when things turn, resist the temptation to default. Resist the assembly line response. Before you pull out the activity report, ask the root cause question. Please treat your team with the same intellectual rigor you would apply to any system you actually want to understand. Make room for the leader who thinks differently. And if you are that leader, stay in that room and have courage. The organizations that survive the next decade will be the ones that figured out the difference between counting activity and understanding the people. And remember, leadership isn't about perfection. It is about progress. So take this lesson, put it into action, and continue setting the gold standard in your own life and at work. I'll see you all next time.